Hi, my name's Annie Bradley. I teach third grade at Palmyra Area School District.
Hi, I'm Megan Lilly. I teach 7th grade math and Algebra 1 at Pottsgrove Middle School.
Hi, I'm Rich Batts. I teach high school biology at Central York School District.
And hi, I'm Melanie Fainal. I teach third grade in Manheim Township School District. Now, as you can tell, we are from a bunch of different areas, teach different grade levels. But one commonality that we all have here at Group 8 is that our schools are either rolling out a one-to-one program or already have a one-to-one initiative going on in their school district. So for our literature review, we decided to focus on the effectiveness of one-to-one technology programs. From there, we are talking about 4 main topics under that, such as student self-efficacy with technology, teacher self-efficacy with technology, the effectiveness with student learning, and using the one-to-one programs, as well as how one-to-one technology programs promote inquiry. So as we started researching, we started with secondary articles and started tracing citations forward and backwards to find primary resources for our literature review. Fortunately, we wanted to start, our original plan was to do a focus with one-to-one technology programs in each of the STEM areas, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But since one-to-one is kind of new, there wasn't a lot of research on that topic. So we just decided to then look on one-to-one technology programs as a whole broad topic. And as I mentioned earlier, one-to-one technology programs are really new, so we even had to broaden our research a little further to see how technology using inside the classroom can help students and teachers and the effects that it has with student learning. We decided to look at all levels of education, from kindergarten all the way up into college. We even broadened our research to look at different international units as well. Some, I know, did Spain, another one was South Africa, and even one research looked at Singapore. And then we also try to look for articles that were done within the past 2 decades, just because one-to-one is so new and technology is rapidly growing, that we wanted the most current research on one-to-one technology and how these programs are used and if they're effective in today's classrooms.
And then after really finding all these articles in Zotero, we analyzed them and critiqued them, and we really narrowed down to 3 different questions that were at the heart of our literature. And they were, are one-to-one technology programs effective in promoting student inquiry? Is technology being used to engage in inquiry? And is self-efficacy related to engaging inquiry? So that was really the base of our whole literature review. And then we also found common themes within those. And we each kind of took a theme in our group and divvied it up. We all found articles to contribute, but we each honed in on one specific theme. So the themes we looked at were student self-efficacy, teacher self-efficacy, effectiveness of student learning, and inquiry-based teaching. We also defined some important terms that went along with our main themes, just so we were all on the same basis when we were writing our literature review. So we combined a couple definitions to find the definition of a one-to-one program, and we used an article by Gerger in 2014, and he described one-to-one as a program that aims to create a personalized learning environment for each student by providing each with technological device. And then we also looked at another one from Liu in 2011, and he defined it as equipping students with personal mobile devices and enabling 24/7 access so that devices can mediate their classroom as well as out of classroom learning. We also really looked at the definition for inquiry, and since so much of our inquiry was based around science, we found a specific definition for science inquiry, and that was defined as when learners are engaged, give priority to evidence, construct explanations to evidence, evaluate their explanations, and finally can communicate and justify their proposed explanations. And I'm going to try to say these, but I don't know how it's going to come out. Actimus, Hidge, and Ogden were the ones who conducted that experiment, and that was 2016. And then lastly, we define self-efficacy. And again, we kind of combine two definitions, but we found that self-efficacy was described as the belief that one can successfully perform certain behaviors, and that was Ketterholt, 2006. And Lee and his colleagues described personal efficacy as how well one feels when they can perform a task. So those were just some of the key definitions that were really at the base of our literature review. Overall, to sum up our literature review, we found that one-to-one programs and technology are helping students succeed in school, but teachers really need support and professional development to learn how to utilize technology effectively.
In reviewing the research, we found some trends on participant sampling, data collection, and the types of research used. One of the main things we noticed is that there seemed to be an even amount of qualitative and quantitative research studies. Much of the research that we found specifically on inquiry looked at the implication of inquiry in the science classroom, not other content areas. A lot of the research we found focused on middle school and high school levels, grades 6 through 12. Elementary and higher education were not as frequently found in the studies. Many of the studies had smaller participant samplings, probably just because it was easier to deal with. A lot of the samplings were purposely chosen. When there were quantitative studies, they frequently used surveys, and in the qualitative studies, they frequently used interviews, focus groups, and observations. Something we also noticed about the methodologies is that in the quantitative studies, there weren't many true experiments. This seemed to be due to the nature of the educational setting. And although there weren't very many true experiments, there were some quasi-experiments done.
So,
oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll start with the strengths of the research, and then you can move on to the weaknesses. So there were some strengths of the research on our topic. Some of the strengths that we saw were that the effectiveness of these one-to-one programs were strong self-efficacy with technology, with teachers and students. There was a great deal of research on that, and supporting inquiry in science. There was also a great deal of research on types of technology and the applications and programs that are used by teachers. Now, looking at the strengths of the methodologies used, I think it's definitely a strength that there was a variety of methodologies used. The fact that quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method studies were frequently found kind of strengthens some of the agreements in the findings. And also there were some of the strengths of the research that we found were the fact that a lot of the studies included middle school level and high school level samples.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Moving into some of the weaknesses that we found within our studies and kind of methodologies that correlated with them. Throughout the samples that we did find, there were a lot of higher education ones, you know, grades 6 through 12, middle school, high school, as Megan had previously stated. However, there was not a lot of elementary research topics that we found. Along with the elementary, we also didn't find very many special education ones. So both of those kind of subgroups or groups that you want to participants weren't really researched to see if there was a correlation with technology and inquiry within them with special education in the elementary. Along with that, we also didn't find too much on the math, literacy, social studies, and writing aspect. As we previously stated, that we wanted to focus on the full 4 dimensions of STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. However, we did have a lot of difficulty finding different research papers on the other fields aside from the science aspect of it. Kind of another area of weakness that we found within our research was there's not a whole lot of information out there that goes past the past 2-3 years. Most of the research is fairly recent due to the fact that technology is a more recent application in the classroom, and that it is growing so fast. However, those implementations of 4, 5, 6 years ago, to see how they're still relating to the classroom, if they're still being efficient, if they're still working, we couldn't find very many research papers on that topic. you know, kind of the long-term effects of technology and inquiry in the classroom, along with, you know, any differences from year 1, 2, and 3 to years 5, 6, 7. This topic to us was actually really important because we are all in a STEM master's program. And as we previously stated, that we are all in school districts that have a one-to-one initiative right now. So kind of being able to know if technology is as effective as people are, you know, stating it to be, those key buzzwords that are within our schools that we noticed, technology, inquiry, STEM, you know, those are also key aspects that everybody, kind of new teachers, need to know. And our research kind of helped us see that there is a good correlation between using technology, using it for inquiry, and helping with students kind of build those 21st century skills, being able to collaborate with one another and being able to use technology to collaborate outside of the classroom. Students in different countries, and then the inquiry aspect, having them become critical thinkers. All those are key aspects in STEM and inquiry in using that technology in the classroom. So kind of this research helped us answer the questions of, you know, should we be using technology with inquiry? And is it really worth the time to put into it to help the students by using these new methodologies? So through this research, we did find that there has been positive correlations with it and that it is effective within the students. So that concludes our presentation. I would like to thank you guys on behalf of our group for listening. Enjoy reading our paper if you choose to do so. And thank you guys and enjoy the rest of your summer.